And guess what? It's my birthday. Yeah, it's Fatboy's birthday. Fatboy is a birthday boy today. Yay! Have a drink with me in celebration. I only have water here. So, here we go. So I am now a year older, but am I wiser? I'm sure many people would disagree. They'll probably be like, Fatboy, you've become more stupid as the years have gone on. So please, can you try and be wiser, as would be reflective of your age? I shall try, okay? Give me a break. I'm going through a lot right now. Midlife crisis. I'm almost 50 years old. So if I occasionally say things that aren't the most lucid or sensible, cut me some slack. I'm sure you have your moments too, don't you? And speaking of people having their moments, have you seen the war that has unfolded on social media between the musicians and Bobi Wine and fans of Bobi Wine? Apparently, this has to do with remarks that Bobi Wine, aka Robert Kyagulanyi, made regarding artists. Bobi Wine, at a recent event, he was speaking at the funeral of the late Katolo Bwama. And in his speech, he was urging artists to not rely on government assistance. And to essentially imply that they are acting as though they are beggars. Obviously, not too many artists took kindly to those remarks, and so they came out and said some harsh things back to Bobi Wine. Of course, I'm going to be getting into the details of this scandal, so in case you missed out on it, I'll break it down for you over the course of the show. Do stay tuned. Artists as beggars, my goodness. But, real quick to Bobi Wine, I would say, in Uganda, all of us are beggars. We're all suffering, and hey, we're all just sitting out there with our hands stuck out, hoping for something, to get some alms. Yeah, the hustle is real. The hustle is tough. Yeah, business is hectic. And so if some artists have elected to sell their souls for a buck, I can't even knock that hustle. Like honestly, I can't. You got to do what you got to do. You got to put food on your table. You got to feed your family, your kids. So hey, wherever the bread is buttered, that's where you gotta go, right? He who pays the piper calls the tune, as they say. So, which reminds me of an argument that I was also having with, or I should say, I have been having with a lot of LGBT activists lately. Also, still on Twitter. My goodness, Twitter's like a battlefield now. What's going on? So essentially, I've been critical of the activists who I have been saying essentially amplify the threats that are being faced by members of the LGBT community here and paint a rather exaggerated picture just so that they can leverage that for support and for funds and that kind of thing. Really just think of any form of activism, whether it be environmental or women's rights or political freedoms, any kind of activism in which a person earns a living by complaining about something wrong that's happening in the world. Such a person is likely to inflate the instances of, if it is discrimination or abuse or things of that nature, right? Or they're going to exaggerate the dangers being faced by whatever victim group they are claiming to speak for. And so in the case of LGBT activists, obviously, the LGBT minority. And I'm like, yo, you guys just make Uganda seem like a hellhole, which it really isn't when you think about it. Because I saw a gay guy posting a photograph of himself. I believe it looked like he was standing near Murchison Falls. It's what it looked like to me. And it so happened that there was a rainbow, because you know how it is. It's a waterfall, so there's a lot of humidity, there's sunlight, and so refraction. There will, so there was a rainbow in just right behind this gay dude, who then took that picture, that selfie, and posted it saying how Uganda is like a rainbow nation or something along those lines. I'm paraphrasing. And I'm like, so Uganda is, and he's an activist, by the way, who is currently trying to raise $60,000 to save the Ugandan LGBT. Okay, so let me get this straight. So you are an activist who's all over the place talking about how being gay in Uganda is a death sentence, and then you're posting a selfie of yourself standing at Murchison Falls in full view of everybody, and you're posting it on social media talking about, hey, Uganda is I'm gay and I'm proud and all this kind of stuff. Which, I mean, you are who you are, you do you, right? Who cares? But isn't it ironic, because how can it be true at the same time, that Ugandans are being persecuted for being LGBT, and yet you are quite happily putting yourself out there, attending or rather visiting some of our most beautiful tourist attractions, really living the life of a normal Ugandan while still saying you're being oppressed. I kind of feel like that didn't fly. So he and other activists are out there making it seem like Uganda is a hellhole so that they can use that to go to donors and say donate money and we need your support and all this kind of stuff. So in the case of this activist I'm talking about, he is soliciting for $60,000 on GoFundMe, right? He launched a GoFundMe drive to raise $60,000. Now, on one hand, the cynical side of me says, yeah, you're probably just doing it for yourself and for the money. But on the other hand, the hustler in me says, dude, shut up. Why you gotta knock a guy's hustle? I mean, if he's decided that's how he's going to earn a living, you're doing what you're doing to make a living, and who knows? It's not like you're 100% super ethical. I mean, who knows? Maybe I've taken some shortcuts here and there and cut some corners here and there so that things work out my way. So no one's perfect. So who am I to say to him that, look, you should not do what you need to do to make your money? And so maybe that's it. Maybe that's just it. I think my sticking issue would be the fact that he is actually making Uganda look bad. So he's making that money at Uganda's expense. I think that's where I would draw the line. Hustle if you gotta, but if you're doing it, just like a feminist might, right? So she's there running her little NGO about how women are oppressed. Okay, and then she'll get her funding for all her women's programs. But think of what her messaging is doing in terms of the relations between the genders. She is essentially building resentment and animosity. How is a woman going to grow up and not hate men if all her life she's been hearing activists such as that one complaining about how women are hated and women are mistreated? So I think that's a bit of an issue for why, even though it is a hustle and I can respect a hustle, the consequence of that particular hustle may not be the best for society. So that's kind of where I stand on that. But we've been going back and forth with these LGBT activists on social media. And even when I declare to them and I tell them openly and repeatedly, hey guys, I am in support of decriminalization. I am against the anti-homosexuality bill. I do not think you should be imprisoned simply for being gay. I openly state this and they still call me homophobic. They still call me a bigot. It's like, what do they even want? You're attacking people who actually are ambivalent towards you. As in, we don't care. You would think that if they're serious about activism, they'd sort of treat people like us as, and I don't want to use the word allies because I wouldn't claim to be an ally, but rather just a part of the conversation that is a lot more sympathetic than the more extreme side of the conversation, which might say call for their arrest and execution and all that. So you would think that in a society, what you want is for a myriad of voices to be present, not just two. You can't just have the rah-rah activists on one hand and then the rah-rah extremists on the other hand. There has to be a middle ground of people who can see a little bit of both sides. They listen to what the activists are saying and they're like, yeah, okay, you have a point there. That what you're saying here and there is valid. But perhaps we might disagree on this and that and the other. And for that, they'll just say, oh, you're a bigot, you're homophobic, you're a hater, you're a misogynist, and all that kind of rubbish. Which is why, as it turns out, I'm not such a huge fan of activists generally. I just do not find them to be very honest players. So I do hope they do better. Otherwise, I feel like they're just making things worse for themselves. And maybe that's what they want. Because the more hatred they can show is being directed at them from the extremists, then they get to paint the picture of Uganda as being a dangerous place, and then they get more money. Perhaps it is as simple as that, eh?